The following is a presentation of the Matt Talk Podcast Network.
The mind of Pat Popolizio is a wondrous thing. And for you Pack wrestling fans, you'll get to go inside the mind of the Skip each and every episode here on the Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast. Now, here's your host, NC State Director of Athletics Digital Communications, Brian Reinhardt.
5 straight weekends of ACC duels start this weekend for the number 8 NC State wrestling team. We talked that and much more in this brand new episode of the Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast. I continue to serve as the host, NC State Director of Athletics Digital Communications, Brian Reinhardt. And joining me to talk all things NC State wrestling and more is the head coach of the Wolfpack, Pat Popolizio.
Good afternoon, Brian.
Pat, I know it's a very busy time here in the wrestling schedule. You continue to make me work 7 days a week without rest for many weeks, but getting outside of college wrestling a little bit, are you an NFL guy?
No. How's that for you?
I had about 4 questions to ask.
I know you did. No, I don't mind watching a little bit here and there.
Who's your team?
Yeah, come on. I'm a New Yorker. I'm a Giants guy. Grew up the Big Blue Wrecking Crew. That's my team. But I have recently switched over to the Bills because he's a wrestling fan and he gives us some gear. Brad's got a good hookup, so we trade gear, wrestling gear for Bills gear. So by default, I like the Bills too.
I don't think I've gotten either, but that's cool.
Extra large, you're going to have to hit the weights a little bit.
A lot of controversy this past weekend with 2 conference championship games, fans and media all over the officials. But then again, what sport is not happy with the officials? How would you classify the state of officiating in college wrestling? Many keyboard warriors seem to offer their opinions every week.
Well, pretty simple. Just score more points than your opponent and you don't have to worry about the ref, right?
You're not arguing this year. You have yet to argue.
There's so many things hard to argue. You're not going to get in these battles on hands to the face, stall calls. It's just like there's no point in arguing anymore. We got to take that out of the hands of the ref. We got to make it simple. 3 stout. You push a guy out of bounds, it's a point. Let's get rid of that stall call and you push a guy out of bounds, it's a point.
Were you not holding up that foam stall call thing during the match? I thought that was you over there.
Yeah, I have them in the room now, so if guys are doing it in the room, I can throw it at them.
And since I know I'm going to forget, what's your Super Bowl prediction?
I actually like the way the Rams have come out of nowhere. Their coach is young. I like his style, so it'd be nice to see the Rams upset the Patriots. I don't even know who's favored, but
okay.
But you also got one of the best quarterbacks ever playing, so he's a gamer.
That'd be a good one.
Yeah, it's definitely.
And
it's good coaching, 2 good coaches going at it.
Coaching could be overrated sometimes.
I agree. Leave it up to the guys.
Any kind of Super Bowl food you enjoy, or do you go straight greens?
No, we'll get some chicken wings in there. Okay. They gotta be grilled though. Anytime we go out to eat, you gotta get the grilled chicken wings.
Sauce, dry rub?
No, a little barbecue. I'll figure it out. We'll still eat healthy, but we'll get some good Super Bowl food in. Back
to action on the mat. NC State is concluding a 4-match homestand this weekend and starting ACC action. But last weekend, you guys down Drexel 25-16 in Reynolds. Another duel without 3 top 12 guys, but another duel win with multiple bonus points, including a pin by Malik McDonald, which might be a hint to who's the guest on this podcast. But going back to the win over the Dragons, how was the performance overall?
It was solid. I like the fact that we have to step up right now, and we know, there's a chance we're going to give up some points at some weight. So it requires other guys to go out and chase bonus points, and that ultimately is what I want out of our guys at the end of the year. So it's forcing them to go out and to do it now in some of these matches where maybe, we're in a position where we know we're going to get a win. But now we have to go out and get bonus point wins. And so it's making these guys be more aggressive. So I like that part of where we're at. And I like the fact we get some new guys in the lineup stepping up, going out there and competing. And some guys know they got to do a better job of competing for us. If they're going to put our singlet on, they got to have that pride. And that's something we're working on talking about.
One guy I wanted to talk about has to be wrestling on a level now that's very key for your lineup. Redshirt sophomore Hayden Hiley Started the season 5-2 with a couple top 10 losses, but since that time, he's won his last 8 matches, 6 by bonus points, and has outscored those foes 101-26. And that includes a pin against West Virginia. Hayden seems to be hitting his groove now, and you're getting a lot of team points at 157.
Yeah, he's back to wrestling his style and with confidence, aggressive, and we knew that was going to come. I think the break over the winter was good for him. Took a little time, regroup, and it's a long season. So he's one of those guys. A loss isn't going to define his season. We went through it with some other guys that had last year. You look at Machiavello's season. He took a couple losses and found his way to where he wanted to be, and we expect the same out of Hayden.
And overall as a team, since that loss at Ohio State, NC State has racked up 13 bonus point wins and then 19 individual victories over the last 3 duels. You kind of answered this question already, so you're taking my thunder again.
I'll answer it again.
Any new emphasis on getting bonus points, or is this just the time of year where training and practice are really paying off?
It's a combination of both. You know, we work technique a lot in the beginning of the year, and then we focus the second part on a lot of drilling and mentality in our matches. So I think you're seeing a little bit more of that as we close out the season. You know, we focus a little bit more on that match strategy and what we're looking for, so we can score as many points as we can in the NCAA tournament, and that's really what you're starting to see. I mean, we still got a lot of work to do, and we know we got a lot of time, but we're starting to really focus in on those little things.
And speaking of training, you're always talking about the training cycles that the guys are in during different parts of the season. But starting this weekend, you guys have one ACC duel every weekend heading up to the ACC championships. Is this a training routine you guys are comfortable in to get ready for the postseason?
Yeah, it's time to, this is the time of the year where you start really getting focused, really disciplined, and you got to make sure you're sharp. When you compete, you want to make sure you're sharp, and that's kind of where we're at. I think we've trained pretty hard through a lot of competitions, and obviously we're going to continue to train hard. But I think this is where the workouts start to get a little shorter. It's a little more individualized, and it's a little more focused to the 10 starters. As we, beginning of the year, middle of the year, we're focused on our team. Now it's time to really zone in on 10 guys.
And as we've mentioned, NC State will open its ACC slate with Duke this Friday night at 7 p.m. back inside Reynolds Coliseum. Fans, let's pack it red and buy those tickets at gopack.com/buy tickets. And you can also purchase tickets the day of the duel at the ticket office in front of Reynolds. And Pat, I put together a little piece on GoPack pumping up this duel and crunched some numbers. Impressive stat here. Since Reynolds Coliseum underwent its $35 million renovation prior to the 16-17 season, NC State is a perfect 5-0 in home ACC duels, outscoring foes 134-50. 7-0 home this year. How big of a home advantage has Reynolds become for your program?
I think it's definitely an advantage. I think it's a great venue for college wrestling. The way it's laid out is perfect for a dual meet. Your fans are really on top of the mat right there. There's not a bad seat you can get in there, and just the way that it's laid out, I mean, it's loud in there, and you get a good crowd in there. You guys can hear it, brings energy, and that's what we want. We want to create that culture. When you come to a dual meet, it's a great atmosphere, and most importantly, it's an event for people to come to watch a match.
Can we get Holthauser? We had those steel cages set up.
I'd love to. That would be a good throwback. So
you talk about fans close to the mat. They were on the mat.
They were catching guys falling off the mat.
That's interesting. But your squad's also the defending ACC regular season champions. You guys went 5-0 last year in ACC duels. A lot of new faces in the lineup compared to last year. But how important is it for your squad to go back-to-back ACC duel titles, a feat that has not been accomplished here since 2001 and 2002?
Oh, wow. That's a long time ago.
Impressive stat.
It is. Dual meets are good. They're important. We want to win. That's anytime we step on the mat, we want to win. But right now, my main focus is getting everybody back healthy and NCAs. So let's put our best lineup out there. The ACC has gotten very competitive as far as dual meets. So every match we wrestle is going to be a battle. And I think that's going to make us more ready than ever for NCAs. And the ACC is becoming very competitive, very deep at every weight. So it's good. This will be a good test across the board for all teams.
And you guys are opening the ACC schedule with Duke for the 4th straight year. The Blue Devils used the strategy. They went to a lot of tournaments versus duels so far this year, so this will only be their fourth duel, but they returned 4 NCAA qualifiers. The Fine Silver brothers, all 4 of them went to the NCAAs. You're very familiar with their coaching staff. What kind of challenge did Duke present for your team?
Yeah, they are always well coached. Coach Lanham and Casper being over there, those guys do a really good job. And, the fact that we're in the same conference, everybody knows how everybody wrestles, and they do. They are always in shape, scrappy, hard-nosed, and, they've put up good results over the years. They've left the NCAA tournament with All-Americans. So those guys got to be ready to battle. I mean, they know there's some key matchups as far as what you need at the end of the year when it comes time to seeding in the ACC and NCAAs. I mean, they got guys that are going to obviously be wrestling at the NCAA tournament, so we need to be ready to wrestle in those weight classes. And obviously, having a couple guys out, it's going to make that dual meet a little opportunities for everybody to get some wins. And I'm excited for the challenges with those guys that we have, key matchups, because I think it's one where we can jump forward with if we wrestle well and wrestle hard.
Is that a peanut butter smoothie you have today?
Yeah.
I can smell it. What if I had a peanut allergy?
Well, then you'd be out of luck. We'd be calling Will.
It's harsh, man.
We're 10 feet from the train.
We're at WB today.
EpiPen for you.
There was no power. You guys were complaining it was dark.
A generator running out here?
You were complaining it was cold. I
see the cord now to the generator outside.
There is no administrator within sight, so the true workers were really getting it done. That's not true. Today.
Josh Dalton and I went to lunch to get this.
Okay.
That's why I'm in a smoothie, because you rushed me back here.
I didn't want one like last week.
Yeah. Well, so. Put your request in.
Putting you a bit in the hot seat, headed into your ACC slate, what do you like about how you guys are wrestling, and what do you need to improve upon over these next 5 weekends?
So I like, we've been preaching to be aggressive, so I like that. I like the fact that guys are going out there and getting turns on tops, because we've been working really hard to get some back points. Consistency's got to be key. We got to have all 10 guys wrestling to their ability. I felt like we had a little bit of a letdown in some weights last weekend, and that's when we get all 10 guys hitting from, on the same page, we're a dangerous team. And then ultimately it's getting both Tariq and Renan back in the lineup. Probably see Renan in here shortly, and Tariq as well. There's the positive is they will be back. It's just when. So we're looking forward to having all 10 guys back, and obviously Sean back down to 25 when we need him. So when we're doing that, it does change the dynamic of our team, and we know when we need to have all those guys back in, and we will.
You crushed my next question.
Let's do it.
Okay. You already answered it, so I'm not doing
all
this.
Right, sorry.
We're going to go straight into a couple great matchups here against Duke, a pair of ranked matchups on the horizon, actually. At 149, we're going to have a top 10 battle. Number 8, Justin Oliver, will face off against number 6, Mitch Finesilver. Justin got a couple of wins back in 2016, but that was so long ago, different schools. How exciting is this, a top 10 battle in a very good weight class in the ACC to start us off here?
Yeah, 149 in the ACC. I mean, you're looking at multiple guys that can compete to win NCAAs. So you're going to have multiple Americans out of that weight for sure. And it's a weight, I think Justin, he needs that win. It's he had that letdown against West Virginia, and this is one where he can springboard and jump ahead. And he looked really good against Drexel, what we expected him to look like. He wrestled that and, started to gave up that first takedown and then really changed the momentum in that match. And this is a match, we know what we need to do. We've seen him wrestle enough being in conference, and I'm sure they have a game plan too, and that's what makes wrestling fun. So I know a hard pace, and I think you're going to see a lot of points thrown on the board, but that's going to be a very entertaining match for sure. Both guys are great competitors.
The other ranked battle comes at 174. Number 20, Daniel Bullard, faces number 17, Matt Finesilver. Both were NCAA qualifiers last year as freshmen, and they split a pair of matches last year. Finesilver got the dual win, Bullard at the ACC championships, but great opportunity for Daniel to go out there and get a ranked win.
Yeah, and like you said, they split last year, and I thought the way we wrestled in the ACCs was a much smarter match. And, it's one of those, again, you know what you got to do. Now you got to go out and execute it. But I think both those guys do put up a lot of points. So that'll be another match, high-paced match where guys scoring a lot of points. So entertaining, one of those matches where guys are going after each other. It's not going to be a 2-1 stalling type match. Those guys definitely will get takedowns, and I'm sure there'll be some good mat wrestling.
We really don't talk about open tournaments too much on this podcast, but I would classify Saturday as a big day for your squad. I counted 19 guys going to the Appalachian State Open. I think you mentioned we're going to have Sean Files at 125, and both of your freshman heavyweights are going to be in there too, leading the attached guys, but 12 unattached freshmen as well. The App State tournament, it's a big one for you this year.
This year, yeah. With the young team that we have and guys redshirting and trying to decide who our heavyweight is, and obviously getting Sean matches at 25, that was a good day and good timing for him to do that as we, can get ready for other dual meets down the road. But yeah, 19 guys. I mean, we're going to have a busy weekend over there at App State. So obviously the dual meet here, a couple kids on campus. It's going to be a busy weekend for NC State wrestling, but I'm excited to see these guys who have been redshirting. It's been a month since a lot of them got the opportunity to compete, and watching them in the room, they improve so much because they are freshmen, and they don't get to see that day to day in the room, but you throw them out in competition and you'll see the improvements. And, across the board, there's a lot of guys we know are going to be starting for us next year that are not in our lineup that are redshirting this year. So we expect those guys to go out, dominate this tournament, and come home with a lot of wins.
And our guest this week on the podcast is redshirt senior Malik McDonald, who I visited with after practice. Pat, Malik is one of those that he's a lead by example type of guy, I would classify. Probably one of the quieter guys off the mat, but a great veteran to have in your room, and a North Carolina native. How have you seen Malik progress over his time here, and what does Malik bring to your program?
Yeah, what a great kid to have in your program, and what he represents for us. He is very soft-spoken, just a great, genuine guy. I think when you look at the progress that's been made with NC State wrestling, he's a reason why where we're at. I think he made his name for himself that dual meet when he was a redshirt freshman against Missouri. You brought up the venue we were in.
I brought it up. I brought that question up to him. He doesn't like to bring that up because he lost.
He did lose, but I think that's kind of how his career started out, and it was like, all right, this kid does have a bright future, and he's been one of those that just, no matter what's been thrown at him, he shows up the next day and keeps a very positive attitude, and I think that reflects him as a person off the mat and on the mat, because I don't think many people thought he'd be where he's at today. And he's a competitor. He's a guy that we believe at the end of the year is going to be in position to place very high and compete to win a national title, because that's what he's training for. And he's got the work ethic, the attitude, and the mentality to accomplish whatever he wants to this year. But yeah, I think you look at, there's been some situations in the past where he could have had a negative attitude, but he responded very well and kept things positive. And because of that, he's one of our captains this year. And he's a leader by example, and wouldn't want it any other way with him, because he's been a big asset to NC State wrestling.
Pat, great to have you on the podcast once again. You are killing this consecutive episode streak, and I know the fans really appreciate it, but only 2 home duels left, so come to Reynolds Coliseum and support the Wolfpack this Friday night as NC State will host Duke at 7 p.m. Pat, good luck to you and the guys.
Appreciate it. Hope we can see you out at the duel, Brian.
I'm there every time. Second podcast in a row, we have a first-time guest on. Last week, we heard from one half of the Bullers as Thomas stopped by. We touched on a number of subjects, mainly talking about being a twin. So if you missed that interview, please go back into our archives. But this week, brand new to the Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast, we have redshirt senior Malik McDonald joining us as the Wolfpack prepares to open its ACC slate against Duke this weekend. Malik, thanks for wanting to come by and visit with us. It took me a little while to get you on the podcast, but great to have you on.
No problem. It's my pleasure.
Now, last week I said during Thomas Buller's interview, he might have been one of the quietest guys on the team. Well, I might have one-upped that this week. And Malik, you may be even more nondescript than he is. For those that do not know you, how would you describe your demeanor off the mat?
The way I describe myself is very simple. Like, just spend time with friends. Just simple life, not much going on.
You're kind of quiet. Would you say you're a quiet person?
Yeah, for the most part.
Okay. Well, we're going to break you out of that shell on this podcast, but this is your senior season. You're back at 197 pounds and ranked in various polls here late in January. You came to NC State all the way back in 2014. Does it seem like a long time ago that you've been in the program, or has time kind of flown by here?
I'll say it's gone by pretty fast. I mean, that's kind of how it usually goes with people. I mean, as you're going through the process, it does seem long at times, but I'm at my end point now, so it's good to be here.
What's the difference between redshirt senior Malik and true freshman Malik?
I'll say more discipline throughout everything.
Does that come mainly from school and the program you're in and all that? Or wrestling too adds to that?
So discipline with school and wrestling, diet, like freshman year, Malik, definitely diet-wise wasn't as good as now. But I made the adjustments now, and it's much better.
I joked with you, and it has messed me up many times. Are you trying to get down to 184, or are you at 197?
I'm not going 184. That's not happening.
Greenan said he would look forward to that wrestle-off.
We were supposed to meet up at heavyweight.
Okay. But you're from Hope Mills, North Carolina. You went to Southview High School. Tell us where Hope Mills is and describe your hometown for us.
Hope Mills is right outside of Fayetteville, North Carolina, and the way I would describe it is mostly suburbs, and it's fairly country.
Okay. So you grew up relatively close to Raleigh and NC State. I know there was a coaching change while you were in high school up here, but how much did you follow the Wolfpack wrestling program while in high school?
In high school, I didn't really pay attention to the Wolfpack program until my senior year, and I committed on the day that Nick won his first national title.
Did you commit before or after Nick won?
I committed before.
Okay. What if he would have lost?
I still would have committed here.
That's good. A little pressure on Gwiz there, but that's good. But I think high school wrestling, it's been growing in the state of North Carolina. I remember a few seasons ago, you and Michael Macchiavello were only two of the overall three wrestlers from the state of North Carolina that qualified for the NCAA championships. How much do you think high school wrestling has grown in the state since your time in high school?
I think it's grown a lot more since I've been here. I actually talked to my high school coach about this, and he thinks that wrestling in North Carolina has gotten better since from the time period I graduated till now. So I think it's a good sign that it's getting better.
Were you always wanting to wrestle in college?
Not at first. I didn't really start thinking about wrestling in college until my junior year in high school. Pretty much after I played second at Virginia Beach Nationals for juniors. But
I was going to say, you redshirted your first season on campus, and my first memory of you competing came in a duel against Missouri. It was your redshirt freshman season. Reynolds was under construction, so the pack was over in the fairgrounds, but it was against Missouri. You got inserted into the lineup and faced off against the eventual national champion and this past summer, the world champion, Jaden Cox, when he was number one. Now, you didn't get the win that day, but you kept the score within a decision and allowed Gwiz to clinch the duel with the Team Tech. What do you remember from that bout of yours? Was that something that stood out during your time here at NC State?
So I feel like since I've been here, I always hear about that duel a lot. And it was a great win for the team. And at that point in time, I was more of a role player. So basically, like, every match I do go out there and I try to win. But being able to keep that match to a decision for the team was pretty big for the program because it later allowed us to wrestle Iowa, and we beat Iowa as well that year. So that was just good for the team.
But that's just one of those things, too. That was your redshirt freshman year. Everybody contributes different ways.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So the next season, you were the starter at 197, received an at-large bid to the NCAA championships. It went 20-11. How do you sum up that season and your NCAA experience?
Well, I would sum up that season as more of a learning experience. It wasn't a waste. I would say it was a learning experience because there's some people that have never been to the national tournament, and it was good to get that first time out the way at least. And you go to the next term expecting to win, like you want to win. But I didn't accomplish that, and now I get to work for that goal again.
I was going to say you still have one more season. Obviously, that's your main goal, but last year you moved up to heavyweight. You were definitely a lighter heavyweight. What were you wrestling at last season?
How much I weighed in it? I usually weighed in around 227. The most I ever got up to was 235, but it was mostly water weight at that point in time.
I was going to say, going into your senior season, you had a decision to make. Either stay up at heavyweight, come back to 197. What was the thinking behind the choice of being at 197 this year?
So basically it just came down to which weight class would I have a better chance at winning a national title. And being an undersized heavyweight by that amount was pretty difficult to do versus going down and being a good size 197. So that kind of played a factor.
I was going to say, wrestling up at heavyweight a little bit last year, did that kind of help you this year, wrestling against some of the bigger, stronger guys? There's quite a difference between 97 and some of the heavyweights.
I would say so. I mean, especially in hand fighting, like nobody has heavier hands than most heavyweights, so that helps out.
Maybe some thoughts on your senior season so far. What do you need to do to win an ACC title and get back to the NCAAs and then perform well there?
Just keep improving every day and trusting my coaches and training partners and just stick to what we work on.
I think people might be interested to know who's some of your training partners. There might be one guy who was a senior last year. He was a little light-weighted last year. You might have come up in weight in the off season, but who are some of your training partners now?
Right now I train with Mike Machiavello. I train with Rod Davis, sometimes Trent Hadley, Tyree Houghton.
How's the young talent in the room since you're one of the older guys now?
I whoop up on them pretty often, but they keep trying.
They keep trying? But when you're not at practice or in class, what do you enjoy doing? I heard you're a big reader.
I read sometimes, yeah. Just usually to kill time. Try to improve on some of the things I'm not as good at. One being public speaking or just talking to random people.
So you're telling me you want to do more interviews?
I'd be up for it.
Okay.
It's a comfort thing.
You realize I've asked you over the couple of years and you have turned me down a couple of times. So this podcast is a step in the right direction. So I'm glad. But you're majoring in social work. You made the ACC honor roll last year. What made you want to get into that major?
I thought about becoming a guidance counselor originally, mainly because my older brother was the better athlete between the two of us. And the guidance counselor at our school didn't necessarily like push him in the direction of college. So he ended up not taking like any foreign languages and he couldn't get into a Division I university. So just want to be able to make sure that kids are able to get into university if they want to, push them in that direction.
Is that still the career path you see yourself as?
Right now, I'm not looking to do that, but mainly because I'm pushing off grad school.
You don't want to go to grad school?
Not immediately. No.
Not immediately? Okay. Well, again, Wolfpack fans, NC State's in home action this weekend as the Pack opens up its ACC portion of the schedule with Duke on Friday night at 7 p.m. in Reynolds. Malik, what do you have to do to win that bout and get the team points at 197?
Stick to what we're working on daily and don't lose any focus.
As a North Carolina native, do you get more excited for ACC duels against teams like Duke and North Carolina?
Not really. I just like wrestling at home dual meets. That's fun. That was fun. I like the crowd. During duels, I'm a little busy typing, getting results. How was the celebration after the pin in your last duel? Was there one? Nah, not really.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I see you might raise your hand, but I don't see you as celebrating too much.
Yeah, nothing extravagant, no.
But did the pin give you some confidence moving forward?
Yeah, it was good to get pin. I usually don't get pins, so.
The goal is to get more pins, though, right?
Yeah, you always try to work for them.
Okay, that's 16 points. That's a lot.
Yeah, no.
Malik, it was great to visit with you. Good luck the rest of the season here.
Thank you.
I want to thank everybody for listening today. This is your Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast covering all things NC State wrestling. Until next time, Wolfpack wrestling fans, go Pack.
The Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast is produced by the Matt Talk Podcast Network. For more wrestling podcasts, go to MattTalkOnline.com.